South Africa, known for its breathtaking landscapes and rich diversity, stands as one of the most culturally vibrant countries on the African continent. With unique features such as its vast wildlife reserves, iconic Table Mountain, and historical sites like Robben Island, the country has made a name for itself as a land of resilience and beauty. From the bustling urban life in cities like Johannesburg and Cape Town to the traditional rural communities across its varied landscape, South Africa's cultural identity is woven with influences from its 11 official languages and diverse ethnic groups. The country's historical journey, including its transition from apartheid to democracy, has given it a unique character that combines a respect for its past with a commitment to forging an inclusive future. While the nation's economy is deeply rooted in its rich natural resources, such as gold, platinum, and diamonds, South Africa is also known for its wine industry, producing some of the world's finest wines that are increasingly celebrated on the global market. Geographically, South Africa occupies the southernmost tip of Africa, bordered by Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Eswatini, and encircling the Kingdom of Lesotho. Its expansive coastline stretches along both the Atlantic and Indian Oceans, which influences its climate and provides a unique setting for the nation's distinct biodiversity. With diverse ecosystems ranging from desert landscapes in the west to lush subtropical areas in the east, South Africa is home to some of the world's most remarkable flora and fauna, including the Big Five game animals: lions, elephants, buffalo, leopards, and rhinos, which make it a prime destination for ecotourism and wildlife safaris. This geographic diversity also plays a crucial role in the livelihoods of many South Africans, supporting industries from agriculture in the fertile central regions to fishing along the coasts and viticulture in the Western Cape. Economically, South Africa stands as the continent's third-largest economy, with a gross domestic product (GDP) of approximately $419 billion USD as of recent data. Despite being a middle-income country, South Africa faces significant economic disparities, with a GDP per capita of around $6,900 USD, which underscores the challenges of income inequality and unemployment. Many South Africans work in urban centers and are employed in sectors such as finance, manufacturing, and services, while rural areas often rely on agriculture, mining, and tourism. The nation's economy benefits from its abundant natural resources, with mining contributing significantly to exports, particularly in gold and platinum. However, South Africa is also advancing in technology and service sectors, aiming to diversify its economic landscape and increase opportunities for sustainable growth. As South Africa works to address its socio-economic challenges, it remains a country of rich potential, shaped by its natural wonders, resilient people, and a unique place on the global stage. South Africa's history is deeply rooted in its role as a strategic trading and colonial center, attracting explorers and settlers from as early as the 17th century. The arrival of the Dutch East India Company in 1652 established Cape Town as a vital resupply station on the route between Europe and Asia, marking the beginning of European colonization. British control followed in the early 19th century, leading to a period of intense conflict as settlers clashed with indigenous African kingdoms, such as the Zulu and Xhosa, and other colonial powers. The discovery of diamonds in 1867 and gold in 1886 fueled both the expansion of European settlements and rising tensions over control of resources, ultimately contributing to the Anglo-Boer Wars between the British and Afrikaner, Dutch-descended settlers. This colonial history left enduring marks on South Africa's social and political landscape, particularly through the establishment of apartheid, a system of racial segregation and economic disenfranchisement that was officially institutionalized in 1948. It wasn't until 1994, with the election of Nelson Mandela as the first black president, that South Africa transitioned to democracy, ending nearly 5 decades of apartheid and embarking on a journey toward equality and social reconciliation. Economically, South Africa's history has been shaped by its rich natural resources, which played a pivotal role in the development of the mining sector that still influences the economy today. The discovery of gold and diamonds in the late 19th century catalyzed an economic boom, attracting international investments and making South Africa one of the wealthiest regions in the Southern Hemisphere at that time. Mining soon became the backbone of the economy, supported by infrastructure investments such as railways and ports to transport resources. However, the benefits of economic growth were unevenly distributed due to the apartheid regime's restrictions, which limited economic opportunities for the majority of South Africans. In the post-apartheid era, the government has implemented policies to redress these economic inequalities, promoting Black economic empowerment, BE, to encourage broader participation in the economy. Despite these efforts, South Africa still faces challenges related to high unemployment, income inequality, and dependence on resource exports. Yet the economy has diversified over recent decades, with finance, technology, and tourism emerging as key sectors that promise to help South Africa realize more inclusive growth in the future. South Africa's economy remains heavily reliant on mining and natural resources, which have historically driven its growth and positioned it as a global player in the production of precious metals. South Africa is the world's largest producer of platinum and a significant producer of gold, diamonds, and coal, with these resources comprising a substantial portion of the country's exports. The mining industry contributes approximately 8% to the nation's GDP and employs a large workforce, though recent efforts have focused on improving the sector's sustainability and safety practices. Despite global fluctuations in commodity prices and the challenges of depleting resources, mining remains central to the South African economy. Additionally, renewable resources such as solar and wind are being developed alongside mining to diversify energy production, particularly as the government seeks to address energy shortages and reduce dependence on coal-fired power. Agriculture and agribusiness also play a vital role, particularly in rural employment, contributing around 2% to South Africa's GDP, but supporting livelihoods for over a quarter of the population. The country is a leading producer of products such as maize, citrus fruits, and wine, with its vineyards in the Western Cape garnering international acclaim. South Africa's agricultural diversity is due to its varied climate, which allows for a wide range of crops to thrive, from fruits and vegetables to grains and livestock. In recent years, agribusiness has attracted increased investment in processing and exporting goods, bolstered by South Africa's favorable trade agreements. Moreover, emerging sectors like technology and green energy have seen significant growth as South Africa aims to diversify its economy. The finance sector, centered in Johannesburg, has gained international prominence, with banking, insurance, and investment services becoming major contributors to GDP. Meanwhile, tourism has become a critical source of revenue, drawing millions to its natural and cultural landmarks. Combined with the retail sector's expansion, these industries are essential for South Africa's aim of building a more resilient and inclusive economy. South Africa's economic indicators paint a mixed picture of growth and challenges as the country navigates structural reforms and strives for inclusivity. The country's GDP is approximately $419 billion USD, with the services sector, including finance, trade, and public services, being the largest contributor. Despite this, annual GDP growth has averaged a modest rate of around 1.5% over the past several years, constrained by factors such as slow industrial growth, infrastructure gaps, and electricity supply issues. Manufacturing and mining remain vital but volatile sectors due to fluctuating global commodity prices and local operational challenges. Government efforts to stimulate growth have focused on public investment in infrastructure and economic reforms intended to foster more private sector involvement. South Africa's economy is also bolstered by its position as a gateway to African markets, with strong regional trade ties, though it faces pressure to improve competitiveness and diversify its economic base. Unemployment remains one of South Africa's most pressing economic issues, with an unemployment rate of around 33%, one of the highest in the world. Youth unemployment is even more severe, hovering close to 60%, underscoring the country's urgent need for job creation and skills development. These high unemployment rates contribute to South Africa's income inequality, which is among the highest globally. Inflation rates in recent years have fluctuated around 4.5% to 6%, while the South African Reserve Bank has maintained relatively high interest rates to control inflation, impacting consumer borrowing and spending power. The South African Rand, ZAR, has also faced depreciation pressures against major currencies, which increases import costs but benefits the export sector. Income distribution remains a significant concern, with the wealth gap reflecting historical inequalities that persist despite government programs, such as Black economic empowerment. While there are signs of gradual improvement, the disparity in economic opportunities highlights the importance of structural reforms and investment in education and employment programs to create a more balanced and inclusive economy. South Africa plays a central role in African trade and maintains strong international connections, leveraging its geographic location and economic strength as the continent's most industrialized economy. The country's key trading partners include China, the United States, Germany, and several African nations, with China being the largest. South Africa exports minerals, metals, and agricultural products, such as platinum, gold, and citrus fruits, which are essential for its trade balance. Trade agreements like the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, and the Southern African Development Community, SADC, allow South Africa to tap into a wider market, fostering stronger trade ties within the African continent. Additionally, South Africa is a member of the BRICS Group, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, a coalition that enables collaboration in trade, investment, and economic development among emerging economies. These partnerships and agreements help South Africa expand its trade network, enhance export opportunities, and strengthen its influence on both regional and global stages. The structure of South Africa's trade balance reflects its strong reliance on exports of primary goods, such as mining products, alongside imports of manufactured goods and machinery. While exports have increased over the past few years, the trade balance remains vulnerable to shifts in global commodity prices, which impact the value of South Africa's mineral exports. In 2023, South Africa reported a trade surplus driven primarily by mining and agricultural exports, while imports of oil, electronics, and heavy machinery continued to make up the majority of imports. In recent years, South Africa's strategic positioning has allowed it to act as a gateway to African markets for global companies, attracting foreign investment and reinforcing its role as a key player in the region's economic landscape. South Africa's involvement in initiatives such as the New Partnership for Africa's Development, NEPAD, and leadership roles in the African Union have solidified its position as a leading economy on the continent, driving efforts toward regional economic integration and development. South Africa faces numerous economic challenges that hinder its progress toward sustained and inclusive growth, with poverty and unemployment topping the list. With an unemployment rate of around 33%, South Africa struggles to create enough jobs, particularly for its young workforce, where youth unemployment exceeds 50%. This job scarcity contributes to high levels of poverty and inequality, a legacy of apartheid that persists in economic structures and impacts the quality of life for millions. These issues are further exacerbated by limited access to job opportunities in rural and peri-urban areas, where economic development is slower. Government programs, such as the Expanded Public Works Program, EPWP, aim to provide short-term employment and skills development, but they have yet to address the root causes of unemployment effectively. Additionally, inequality remains among the highest in the world, with a Gini coefficient over 0.63, underscoring the disparity in income and access to resources between different communities. Tackling this requires a multifaceted approach, focusing on job creation, entrepreneurship support, and policies aimed at reducing structural barriers to economic participation. Another pressing issue is the education and skills gap, which limits South Africa's ability to meet the demands of a modern economy. Although government initiatives have improved access to primary and secondary education, quality remains a concern, particularly in public schools, where resources are often limited. The mismatch between educational outcomes and the skills needed in the labor market contributes to the high unemployment rate, as many young people enter the workforce without the technical or professional skills demanded by key industries. Infrastructure challenges compound these difficulties, with aging transportation networks and frequent power outages impeding economic productivity and deterring investment. South Africa's energy crisis, driven by an over-reliance on coal and operational issues within Eskom, the national power utility, has led to load shedding, impacting industries across the board. Social and political challenges, including corruption and bureaucratic inefficiencies, also pose risks to investor confidence and economic stability. Addressing these issues is critical for South Africa's progress, as political reforms, infrastructure development, and improvements in education could provide a foundation for greater economic resilience and inclusive growth. South Africa's economic policies and reforms are structured to address both immediate fiscal challenges and longer-term structural issues, focusing on stabilizing growth and reducing inequality. Fiscal policy is managed with a cautious approach to keep public debt under control while still allocating resources to social services and infrastructure. In recent years, South Africa's national debt has risen, reaching approximately 70% of GDP in 2023, creating an urgent need for disciplined fiscal management to avoid further increases that could strain government finances. The South African Reserve Bank, SARB, manages monetary policy with an inflation-targeting framework, aiming to keep inflation between 3% and 6%, though inflation pressures and high interest rates continue to impact consumers and businesses. SARB's interest rate adjustments, typically on the higher side compared to many emerging markets, are intended to curb inflation and stabilize the rand, which has faced depreciation pressures. Balancing fiscal discipline with the need for social spending and economic investment remains a challenging but essential focus for economic policymakers. To stimulate growth and foster a more inclusive economy, recent policy initiatives and economic stimulus plans have targeted key sectors and attempted to boost job creation. The Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, ERRP, introduced in 2020, continues to drive investments in infrastructure, energy, and green economy projects, aiming to create jobs and reduce South Africa's reliance on fossil fuels. This plan includes infrastructure projects worth billions in transportation, water, and energy sectors, all intended to modernize South Africa's foundational systems and support long-term growth. The government has also promoted Black economic empowerment, BE, policies to increase participation from historically disadvantaged groups, aiming to foster more equitable growth. Additionally, the Public-Private Growth Initiative, PPGI, seeks to harness private sector investments, offering a collaborative framework where the government and private companies jointly invest in priority areas, from agriculture to manufacturing. Together, these efforts are designed to address pressing economic constraints, while laying the groundwork for more resilient and inclusive growth across all sectors. Looking forward, South Africa's economic future holds promising opportunities across various sectors, especially as the country aims to diversify its economy and leverage emerging industries. Key growth sectors include renewable energy, tourism, technology, and agribusiness, all of which are vital to driving inclusive growth and reducing reliance on traditional mining. Renewable energy, particularly solar and wind, is poised for substantial growth as South Africa shifts toward more sustainable energy sources to address its long-standing energy crisis and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The tourism sector, known for showcasing South Africa's rich cultural heritage and natural beauty, also has strong potential, particularly as efforts to diversify tourism services and attract new markets continue to gain traction. The agribusiness sector benefits from South Africa's favorable climate and productive agricultural regions, with a growing emphasis on exporting high-quality products like wine and citrus fruits to global markets. These sectors not only offer economic opportunities but also serve as avenues for job creation and economic empowerment in both urban and rural areas. Innovation and technological advancements are also central to South Africa's economic outlook, with digital transformation creating new pathways in finance, retail, and public services. Fintech and e-commerce have seen rapid growth, especially in urban centers, and offer accessible solutions for unbanked populations while stimulating local entrepreneurship. The government has supported this tech growth by investing in digital infrastructure and promoting programs to build ICT skills across the population, helping South Africa remain competitive in the global digital economy. Furthermore, the transition toward a green economy, backed by policies aimed at sustainable development, opens up additional investment and job opportunities in areas like green construction, waste management, and energy efficiency technologies. The African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, also presents South Africa with substantial regional trade opportunities, fostering economic integration and enabling local businesses to access broader markets. As South Africa strengthens its role within the region, enhanced trade and investment partnerships within Africa offer a pathway to long-term stability and growth, helping the nation tap into a unified African market poised to stimulate demand and bolster economic resilience.